This real quick too, before we start, on days like this, especially in Salem, if you check in Oregon and places in California and Washington, if you check the air is very, very, very bad. In some cases, like astronomically hazardous bad. You shouldn't go outside. If you can avoid going outside, you shouldn't do it. So this is just, I want to tell people, these health experts that they tell us they care so much about us, where are the health experts? Where is Fauci? Where is Birx? Where are the health experts of California and Portland and Salem to tell people strongly via media in the same way they talk about COVID on all their news networks, MSNBC as such? Where are they telling people, don't go outside if you don't have to? In fact, they're forcing people outside. So if you're a restaurant, in order to make money, you have to put people outside. There's nothing worse than putting people outside today. You don't want to be outside, but these health experts in big government are forcing people outside. And once again, this is what happens when we give up our power and our rights to big government in these grandiose transactions of being helped health-wise. Obesity is on the rise, suicides are on the rise, depression is on the rise, unemployment was going up for a while before it went back down. So all these things that affect your health, all of these things that lead to millions of deaths worldwide, alcohol use, drug abuse, suicides combined with obesity, health, you're talking about tens of millions of deaths worldwide. When you combine them all, it's going to kill way more people than COVID. All of these things are reported to be rising because they're taking away people's stuff. They're closing down gyms, which is a health facility. All these things that are so negative. And now they're forcing people to eat outside when the air is hazardous in certain places. In some places it's bad, in other places it's really bad. You should not be eating outside, but the government is forcing people to do that. This is evil stuff. I'm wondering, when are these Republicans going to stand up? Because obviously the Democrats aren't going to, but at what point did the Republicans tell people the real data? At what point does somebody in the Trump administration stop playing this game of defending against left-wing attacks? It's like, oh yeah, well we did this, we closed down the border in February. Yeah, we get it. They're hypocrites, they're liars, they called you xenophobic, they called you racist when you shut the border down. That's great, but that's playing their game. We've moved the Overton window so far left, there's almost nobody telling the raw truth. There's almost nobody trying to free our people from this. So it's like, it's just really sad to see how far the Overton window's flown, to the point where they're forcing people to eat outdoors and nobody's telling people to go inside. They don't care about your health, guys. I wish they did. In some cases, maybe they do, but it's like somebody who doesn't take care of themselves telling you how to take care of yourself and then forcing you to not take care of yourself on a day like this when you should not be outdoors breathing in hazardous air. So it's just ridiculous, but I'll talk about that later. First thing I want to talk about real quick is Trump was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. They're saying it was a far-right Norwegian politician. Of course, anybody that rejects any of their, media coverage, anybody that rejects their politics of big government control, anybody that rejects their phony social justice that's really just disguising big government takeover and injecting all the things that they claim that they want to fight. We want to fight the racists. Well, then why are you segregating schools and they're doing people of color places and non-people of color? They're bringing us back to the 50s and 60s, and anybody that disagrees with them that's like, hey, I don't know, I judge people by content of character. Call me crazy. I mean, I'll talk about race. I'll talk about these things. I'll talk about injustices. Don't get me wrong. I'll talk about it till the cows come home. But I don't know. I was raised to treat people by the content of their character. If I hire somebody, it's not going to be because they're black or white. It's going to be because they're the best person for the job. Now I'm the crazy one. Now I'm the far right person for agreeing with what Martin Luther King said, but whatever. So, of course they call this guy far right, but Trump was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for what he's doing with the United Arab Emirates and Israel. And here's the thing, because and at the end I'll answer questions and stuff. There's a lot of things I disagree with Trump, especially how he handled COVID, not for the same reasons liberals, actually different reasons. But one thing that he has done is he's been way less warmongery than Obama and George Bush. I mean, he's not starting new wars. He de-escalated the war in Syria. He de-escalated tensions in North Korea, which was a major media fear-mongering talking point for a while. And he's somehow getting the Arab countries to like Israel, which is not an easy task. So if anybody deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, it's definitely him. He's done way more than anybody. He's called out the military-industrial complex for the first time, I believe, since Eisenhower. Very few people do. He's saying they want me to drop bombs. They want me to start wars. He's totally right. He's calling out the media. He's saying that they're lying, and in a lot of cases they do. I mean, even on his worst day, he's better than anyone else in Washington. So if Obama can win a Nobel Peace Prize for invading Libya at the behest of Hillary Clinton and her Secretary of State agenda, as well as other things, if he can win a Nobel Peace Prize for what they did in Syria and Libya, Trump should be able to win one for not doing that, because not doing that's much better than doing that. So congratulations, President. Media's mad, left-wingers will cry, but he is absolutely doing a lot of stuff in that category. On to the West Coast. There's fires all across the West Coast. They're raging out of control. Gavin Newsom blames climate change. Liberal media blames climate change. But if you really study the policy in Oregon and you study the policy in California, I have a whole video on it, because before these fires were raging out of control 2 years ago, even New York Times was predicting that there were going to be massive forest fires. Why? Because back in the day, they used to log and they used to get rid of dead trees, because dead trees in the forest are like kindling in a fire. It's a fire starter. It grows out of control. In Alaska, I visited there a year ago before they shut the world down. They do controlled burns. They actually control their burns, and they figure out how to make it burn, but not burn a bunch of houses down, because they actually take care of their forests. Democrats got pressured by liberal activists and environmentalists to not get rid of these dead trees years ago, and now the fires are burning out of control in Portland, in Oregon, rather, and in California, and now they blame climate change. And they do the same thing with the electric grid. Guys, it's not 300 degrees today. It's not 200 degrees where everything's catching on fire. It's a moderate day that's less hot than most days in a Texas or Arizona summer. It has nothing to do with the climate of the planet. I'm sorry. It has to do with how they take care of the forest and how they plan that stuff. Same with their electric grid. I'm not saying the climate doesn't change. I'm not saying that certain days aren't hotter than others, but the electric grid has nothing to do with how hot it is. It's hotter in Arizona, and it's hotter in Texas, and it's hotter in many parts of the world, and they don't have these problems because they don't screw up their electric grid. PG&E is a disaster of a company when it comes to power, and the Democrats try to move to different energy. They hate on nuclear energy. They want to move to green energy, but in a lot of cases, they don't strategically plan on how to do it. For instance, the Green New Deal. It sounds great. I love green energy. I like people like Elon Musk and everything, solar panels. It's awesome. But I can't just say I'm going to do it and then destroy the system that we have and not properly plan to give everybody the energy in time. That's how they think. They don't think things through. It's the same with homelessness and poverty. You know, California is #1 in the country in poverty, despite having one of the biggest economies, if not the biggest economy for a state, one of the biggest economies on the planet, bigger than most countries. So something's going on, folks. How come they can't figure this out? Why is homelessness on the rise? And here's my question to people. If homelessness is on the rise, when I lived in California, the streets were just getting trashier and trashier and trashier. It was growing. Streets I used to walk down covered with trash, covered with tents, covered with urine. If that's how they treat their streets where civilians live, how do you think they treat their forests? The same exact way. And you could just do a simple Google search. How many forest fires, how do they start? Around 90% of forest fires, give or take, depending who's doing the study, are arson. It's mostly arson. It's people starting the fires. One of the fire was started from a gender reveal party where they set off an explosive and lit a forest fire that's burned thousands of acres and forests. It's arson. Most of them are arson. It's a fact. It's arson. And when you don't manage the forest, that arson grows bigger. And when you don't have cutoff points like in Alaska, when the forest fires start, there's cutoff points. So it's like, it's going to burn, but it's not going to burn here because we don't allow it to burn here. They've let the forest grow out of control in California, and they know this, and they've written about it even in liberal publications for the last 5 years. And then everything catches on fire, and they blame climate change. And people are so dumb to believe it. I'm not saying the climate doesn't change, but you have to separate what's going on and what's not going on. So this is how they fool people. They say they're environmentalists. They let the fires rage out of control. They end up doing more damage than they protect. And then they allow people to trash the streets. And what happens when it rains? All that trash, all that feces, all that fecal matter, and all that urine, it all drains out to the ocean. When it drains out to the ocean, what does it do? It not only leaves a bunch of gross stuff in the ocean, it kills off sea mammals and it destroys mammal life. So these are the type of the planning that they have, they don't really plan things through. So when it comes to the West Coast, I don't foresee this getting better until they get to the root of the problem. When it comes to homelessness or poverty, you have to analyze. You can't just go by how you feel and what you think. You have to understand, if we want green energy, how do we transfer to that without taking down the power grid? They didn't do that. Now people don't have power. Not because of the climate, because of their planning. Same with homelessness. I love people. I want to help people. But how do we get rid of homelessness? They don't do it. So homelessness gets out of control. And with the forest fires, they're not getting to the core of why they're happening because they don't know how to manage the forest. They have no plans on doing so, and they always deflect attention to other things. So unfortunately for the West Coast, until they get different leadership who manages the forest properly like they used to, I don't see these fires becoming any less destructive. It's not uncommon for there to be fires, but it is uncommon for them to be this big, and that's why they are. And someone talked about Smokey the Bear. Smokey the Bear used to say, don't light forest fires, and now liberals say it's okay to just trash the streets, it's okay to light things on fire because insurance will pay for it. It's a cultural issue. It's also a management issue. When you can't manage your own streets, when you have crime on the rise, when you have trash on the rise, from living in Los Angeles for 7 years, it literally went from being somewhat walkable to every street I used to walk down is filled with tents and trash. That's how they're treating where they live. That's how they treated where I live. That's where they treated where Black and Hispanic people live. Even though they claim to love Black people and Hispanic people so much, we're the ones who live there, and you treat it like that. And then how do you think they treat the forest? If they can't even clean up their own streets, if they can't even clean up our own neighborhoods, if they don't even allow us to live in a society that functions properly, how do you think they're managing their forests? Do you think they have control over people? If they allow people to crap on the streets, pee on the streets, leave a bunch of heroin needles and trash everywhere, what do you think they allow people to do in the forest? I'm sure they have no sort of oversight for that stuff. And people, just like they're trashing our city, are trashing the forest and being reckless because there is no sense of responsibility anymore. Back in the day, don't start a forest fire. Don't trash the streets. Don't leave your tent on the street. It's going to lead to the destruction of sea mammals because when it rains, all that disgusting stuff goes out into the ocean. Everyone knew that. Talk to people in Santa Barbara. They told me back in the 80s and 70s, we all knew don't trash the streets, not just because no one wants a trash street. All that stuff drains out into the ocean and will destroy the ocean. Everyone knew that. This is common sense, guys. They've replaced common sense with buzzwords, scientific consensus, climate change, racism, sexism. They say it and then they do the opposite. They say you're racist and then they segregate college campuses. If I'm the racist one, which I'm not, why are you doing a people of color and a non-people of color, lunchroom? It's like, this is insane stuff. They're bringing us back to the 50s while they're blaming you for doing everything. I treat people by content of character. I have smart people all across the country, Jews, Christians, Muslims, Asians, Black, Hispanic, everything. People in Africa, people in Ireland. Everybody's tuning in because real people understand real information. Honest people want the truth, and liars lie. So it's not a racial thing; it's a moral and mental thing, which we have the high ground. So I'm not going to pretend like they're such great people. No, they're destroying the forest. They're destroying the West Coast. The skies are smoky everywhere from San Diego up into Washington, Seattle. This is just such a joke, and liberals can't figure it out. I mean, conservatives have their flaws, but it's like someone said earlier, and then I'm going to get to questions. I did an Instagram live stream, and someone said, Anomaly, you're a phony for advocating for one of the parties, and for Trump, you're a phony. It's a two-party system. I criticize Republicans all the time. I criticize Trump all the time. The difference is when I do it, Republicans still invite me to events because they're like, thank you. This is what we all feel. The Republican Party is lying. They like it. When I do it to liberals, they don't want to hear it. Or some do, and they watch the channel. But overall, it's like, at bare minimum, both parties are corrupt. But Republicans will not destroy your power grid. Republicans won't destroy your entire society. Crime won't just be rampant on the rise. They're not going to fully discriminate against you based on your ethnicity. It's like, why wouldn't I? I'm voting Republican all down the ballot, and I don't like a lot of Republicans who start wars and do all stuff, but Trump doesn't do that. The new movement is anti-war, and also they're anti-discrimination. They judge people by content of character, but more importantly than any of this stuff, on a local level, Republicans don't destroy the power grid. Republicans aren't going to let the forests run out of control and blame climate change. The left, all they do is lie, all they do is dodge, and it's not even like politics or, welfare programs. It's like, who can keep society afloat? Who's going to make it so I have power next year? It's not the Democrats. They can't do anything right. By far, they are 20 times more corrupt than Republicans, which is embarrassing. It's not like I'm voting for Republicans because they're all great. I'm voting for Republicans, but for basic survival. We're not going to survive if they can't run a power grid, if they can't keep your lights on and keep your air conditioning on when it's 120 degrees or your fan's on. This is not going to work out. And this is how far they've gone. They've fallen so far into lies and so far into fake social justice and fake environmentalism that they can't even function as society. And if you don't believe me, look at New York City and look at Los Angeles. I just left Los Angeles. It doesn't function anymore. It's been getting more homeless. Businesses have been leaving, and they hate the Good Samaritan. They hate the person who actually contributes to society, and they love the degenerates. If you're a high-level pedophile, you have a better chance of getting bailed out of jail than somebody who isn't even supposed to be there. It's like everything they do is backwards. It's upside-down world. It has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter or Colin Kaepernick. It's just like basic common sense. Can you run a power grid? Can you keep people's power on? Can you stop the whole state from being burned down because you don't know how to manage the forest? Not only can they not do it, but they attack anybody who can do it and then lie about it on mass media. And everyone's like, well, I saw it in 20 places. Well, Slate's lying, Apple's lying, Google's lying, Trevor Noah's lying, Stephen Colbert's lying, and John Oliver's lying. Just because they all lie in unison doesn't mean it's true. They're all liars. They lie all the time. It's like people are like, well, I saw it here and I saw it here. Because they control the flow of information, and it's their goal to control all flow of information. So anybody like myself or Trump or anybody that challenges them, they're trying to wipe them out. Not so you can live in a peaceful life, so you have no power, so you never get your freedom back, so you can never open your business, so you can never do what you did 2 years ago, because they want to control your whole life. They want to control how you operate, how you do this, they're control freaks. Right wing, less of that. Left wing, more of that. Democratic Party, control everything. Control your business. Take your money. Do this, do that. Right wing, somewhat leave you alone. You want to be left alone. So to explain why I'm voting right wing, it's like, yeah, both parties are corrupt. There's things that Trump did that I don't agree with. It's basic survival. They can't even run a city. There's no common sense on the left anymore. And there's not even that much on the right, to be honest. A lot of people freak out when you say one thing. But that's it for today. Someone said my aunt just lost her house in Oregon. It's horrible. It's left-wing ideology is being pumped into academia. It's being pumped into the media. It's being pumped into sports at an all-time high, but it's failing. New York City is failing. Los Angeles is failing. San Francisco's been on the decline for 8 years. Portland, Oregon is failing. It's not just failing because of the air quality. It's failing because they can't run a society. They arrest you if you try to run your business and shut off your water like a communist, but they allow you to burn down buildings and burn down police precincts and freak out every time a career criminal who did something horrible resists arrest or pulls a weapon on a police officer. It's like, these are the things that they do. They allow you to destroy your own society as they destroy their own society. Left-wing areas are not going to rebound. And now it's like getting into right-wing areas. It's like their air is so bad, it's polluting even right-wing areas. It's like these people need to chill out. They can't do anything right. It's insane. All right, I'm gonna read. Thank you, appreciate you, Gerardo. God bless. I'm gonna read some comments and questions, and then I'm gonna keep it moving. Gabriel, appreciate you. The beer's looking good. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I got the beer, sometimes I don't. We're about to lose our house in Texas. Jeez. Sorry, guys. Everybody's losing their houses. This is a train wreck or a fire wreck. Someone said dumbing down is running amok. Dumbing down is very prevalent. We've been very dumbed down. I'm in Pittsburgh and BLM is coming into businesses and harassing our patrons. Yeah, this is destabilization, guys. And this is, I just want to say this too. I've been saying it on my live streams, but I want to show you guys because I've been reading a lot. I read the Communist Manifesto. It's not big. It's 40, 50 pages. You could probably read it in a day if you spend a couple hours. But I read the Communist Manifesto. In the Communist Manifesto, they want to destroy private property. They want chaos. They want riots. They want to destroy the family. They want all communication to be centralized communication, and a central bank to control all the money. That's Karl Marx. Karl Marx was never a revolutionary for the people. Karl Marx was a sneak who was trying to consolidate power for the elites. He was never for the people. Guys, you don't give people power by consolidating the central bank into one central bank. That's how you lose all your freedom. Lenin said 90% of the way to communize a country is a central bank. Once you control the money, you control everything. Lenin knew it. Marx knew it. They wanted power. They wanted to help their friends. They weren't trying to give power to the people. So all this stuff is straight out of the Communist Manifesto. You look at Black Lives Matter agenda on their website before they edited it because they got backlash. It was similar to Karl Marx's manifesto. And one of the leaders said she was a trained Marxist. What does that mean? If you're a trained Marxist, you believe in Marxism, Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto, they're communists. And then people say, Anomaly, don't call everyone communist. I'm not calling everyone communist, but they are communists. They're trained Marxists. Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. And if you read their website, it's the same stuff that's on here, because that's what they believe, because they're trained Marxists. And that's who's running the organization. And then they have these fact checkers on Google that say, well, they're not a Marxist organization because most people in the organization aren't Marxists. Well, that's because most people don't know what they're doing. They've duped millions of Americans into thinking it's for black people. Black Lives Matter. So yeah, everybody doing their dirty work thinks they're standing up for all black life and Black Lives Matter, but that doesn't mean that's what's happening. It's like if you burn stuff down for someone else, you think you're doing it for you, but you're really doing it for the central bankers or for the, the global communists. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means they're what they call useful idiots, which is people who are doing the dirty work on the low levels for the elites, but have no idea about it. So they got a fact checker for everything now. Oh, fact check. They're not Marxist. Most people don't believe in that. They don't know what they believe. They're like Cardi B. They just believe every headline and want their taxes lowered, but then they vote for people who are going to raise their taxes. It's not my fault that they're ignorant. It's like they always try to silence this discussion. But someone said cancel rent is another socialist ploy to get rid of owning property. I read it the other day, but I'll read it again. It's the first cornerstone of the Communist Manifesto. It's in this book. Hold on. I'm going to get to it in a second. This is the first one. He said, abolition of property in land and application of all rents of land to public purposes. It's the first cornerstone of the Communist Manifesto. So when you search communism, it says cancel rent. Who's trying to cancel rent? Progressives like AOC. She's not a progressive. She's a socialist and a communist. She loves Karl Marx. She's just not going to say it publicly because millions of people escaped communism to come to America. So they always have to disguise it because it's not popular. So of course, canceling rent is not just socialist, it's communist. And socialism leads to communism because it's the same thing with a nicer name. The socialists were the ones who were doing stuff, and then the communists came along and said, this is how you do it. And then the socialists just became communists. And Helen Keller was a socialist and a communist as well. You learn about Helen Keller in school, but she supported the Bolshevik Revolution. The communist revolution in Russia that killed millions of people was supported by Helen Keller. So no one knows anything that's going on because you learn about Helen Keller, you learn about, World War I, but they don't teach you anything. They're like, everything is a little sneaky trap, but that's besides the point. I'm just dropping gems so people know. Someone said, aren't the loudest people still the minority and the moderate, hardworking people still the majority? I think so. And I think you could tell that Trump is probably winning in the real polls because they're panicking. Zuckerberg is panicking. The news is panicking. There was a report, NBC, I believe, did. It was a left-wing organization that Trump was leading in Hispanic vote in Florida. I believe he was up 15 or so points than he was last year. If Trump wins the Hispanic vote in Florida, they're not winning the election. If Trump splits the Hispanic vote 50-50 or wins 51-49, they're not winning the election. If Trump gets, 30%, 40% of the black vote, they're not winning the election. They know they're not going to win the election. Trump is possibly going to win by a landslide. He's won over so many more people. It's insane. So there's a possibility that the silent majority is way bigger. It's definitely way bigger. You see me the last few years, I didn't vote for Trump. Everyone I know that's voting for Trump, very few of them voted for him the first time. The silent majority is enormous, and you could tell the media is starting to panic. If he can get more than 50% of the Hispanic vote, it's over. And this is going to ruin their whole plan of winning in the future by shifting the demographics. If you could win over the Hispanic vote, Democrats are never going to win again. So they're freaking out and burning things. Someone said you should try to get on the Joe Rogan Experience. I mean, if he invites me, he invites me, but someone said the polls are fake. Well, here's the thing about the polls. If you do the research and you find out how many people the polls ask, the average poll, the last time I checked, they ask between 800 and 1,000 people. So they're only asking 800 to 1,000 people. And then on top of that, who tells the truth? Who's going to say, hey, I support Trump? If they call you, do you want somebody who called you to know you support Trump? Probably not, because then they probably know your address. So it's like, why would you tell people the truth? That like a random caller, not just in general, but like, hey, like when I do, hey, do this, do that. Like, it's annoying. It's like, just get out of my face. I'm not trying to tell them everything I think. Like, get out of my way. So most people don't even tell how they really feel. Most people don't answer. And out of the people who do, it's only 800 to 1,000. So you poll 800 people, and I'm supposed to think that's how 100 million people think. I doubt that it correlates to the truth, but you know, there's better poll models than other, but it's an estimated guess at best. Someone said, I'm very concerned about the election. I mean, there's going to be a lot of nonsense, for sure. Be prepared for a lot of nonsense. I'm going to read this real quick. Someone said, Joe Rogan Experience promised the whole library, but Spotify deleted episodes with conservatives like Alex Jones, Milo. Joe Rogan is a part of the machine. Yeah, most likely he sold out. He said that it wasn't going to change. They deleted Alex Jones. They deleted Owen Benjamin's episodes. They deleted Stefan Molyneux's episodes. They deleted Chris D'Elia's episodes, who's been in hot water recently. He deleted Milo Yiannopoulos' episodes. He deleted Gavin McInnes' episodes. So, and he's trying, like, Alex Jones was trying to tell people, oh, no, it's just, they're saving them for later. They're not saving them for later. Who are all those people? Those are all people who have been either banned off social media or in the press as like a really terrible person. So that's why they deleted him. So Joe Rogan for sure sold out if that's the case, and he's deleting all his old episodes. The Alex Jones, regardless of what you think of Alex Jones, that's the funniest, best episode of Joe Rogan podcast ever. It's hilarious. Even people who hate Alex Jones love that episode because it's so funny. So yeah, I mean, he took $100 million and started becoming a book burner. He's deleting history. He's become the censors, so it is what it is. Unless he could turn this ship around, people should ratio him until he admits he did it. Let me see. Yeah, we'll see if he has Alex on. Have you seen the new New Jersey law where taxpayers fund a $1,000 bond for newborn children? No, I haven't seen that, but Phil Murphy's a disaster. I mean, I never liked Chris Christie, the Republican, but Phil Murphy, it's crazy. No matter how bad the Republicans are, like Chris Christie, these Democrats are just 10 times worse. I mean, he's done more damage to New Jersey in 3 years than any Republican's done in 20 years. Phil Murphy is a nightmare. New Jersey people got to find a good Republican because that guy is horrible. He's the worst. What? Someone talked about Kate Brown and Gavin Newsom. There's not much to say. Kate Brown, Gavin Newsom, Democrat governors, nightmares, horrible, liars, complete incompetent. I would prefer a Democrat from 10 years ago over any of these Democrats. This is what the progressive people don't realize. They're so ideological. I want universal health care. I want free education. So did Karl Marx. Karl Marx wanted free education. Do you know why? Because it's free indoctrination. It's free government indoctrination. Everybody gets to learn what Karl Marx wants you to learn. It's not good. What's good is what Trump is doing. School choice, private schools, charter schools. Get people away from the government schools. Trump is the real deal. Not Karl Marx, not socialists, not the Kyle Kalinskis and Jimmy Dores. They're just following a failed ideology from somebody who wanted to funnel everybody through the government, and they don't even know they're doing it. They're useful idiots. But in general, when it comes to all this stuff that they're doing, the left wing, they're so ideological that they can't do anything in reality. They have no common sense. They can't run a power grid. They can't trim forests, things that keep society afloat. if you don't have business, if you don't open your society, if you don't open restaurants, if you can't manage your forests, if you can't stop homelessness, if you can't stop degenerates and from criminals taking over the streets, you can't do any of these things. So who cares if everybody has government indoctrination education and government crappy healthcare? It doesn't matter because your whole society's defunct. And this is the Democrats, liberals, progressives, socialists, communists. They all can't function anymore. And it wasn't always this way. Even Obama could function. Even Bill Clinton could function. Even Jimmy Carter could function. Every Democrat in past history actually functioned, even though they were liars. Democrats of the modern era can't do anything. They can't function. And their number one goal is Karl Marx's goals. They're like, we want free education. It's a way to get everybody to learn what the government wants you to learn. It's to force you into government schools. When they do free education, they take away private schools. Progressives and socialists, oh, take away private schools, take away private insurance. They're trying to force everybody into the government. It's communism, and it was never for the people. Your hero, Karl Marx, wanted a central bank and control of all the information. So when you wonder why, oh, I'm a rebel, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, but I'm fighting Democrats. No, you're not. They're laughing at you. You're funneling everybody to their party. Why is Bernie Sanders funneling everybody to Biden? Because they're the same people. It's control of the entire flow of information, control of the banks, control of mass media. They already control most media. They want to control it all. Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden is just a liar. Bernie Sanders is an ideological socialist communist. Joe Biden will do anything for power. They combine because they're both going in the same direction, towards communism. And it was never for the people. It was never for the working class. It was to consolidate all the money in the bank and all the control of the flow of information into the hands of the government by design. I read the book. You have to be a moron to think this is a book for the people. This is one of the dumbest books I've ever read. It's so obvious. Who was Karl Marx? Who was his grandfather? What was his true ideology? Who were his friends? How much money did he have? Was he really against everything? Was he against religion? He said he was against religion, but he only mentioned Christians. He said he was against, unfairness, but he only mentioned mostly European nations in it. He was doing exactly what people do. He wasn't getting money for the worker or votes. He was using people who didn't understand how the world works to destroy everything so that he could come and take all the power, or somebody with his ideology, like a Lenin. It's so obvious, but to each their own. And will Trump root communism out of this country? Not by himself. This is the problem. Trump needs help, and the problem is 80% of the Republicans, they don't want to have real conversations. I know this sounds crazy, but Trump is definitely slowing it down in some ways. But Vladimir Lenin said, I'm going to read the exact quote for you real quick. Vladimir Lenin said 90%, the establishment of a central bank is 90% of communizing a nation. Once you control the money supply, you basically have communism. So our country already has a central bank, and Trump is trying to fight against it. I don't know about the central bank, but he's trying to fight against communism, but we can't do it because the root of the problem can't be spoken about. And Republicans pass speech laws to stop you from saying anything. They pass all these anti-Semitism speech bills. I'm not here blaming an entire group of people. That's not what I'm doing. God bless Israeli, God bless Jews. But these speech laws, if you read them, they're not to protect the average person. They're to protect the powerful who hide behind their ethnicity. And that's their ethnicity in a lot of cases. Not all, but some. What is Black Lives Matter doing? It's pushing communism, but using black people as a shield. So if you rail against their agenda, they say you hate black people. I have no problem. I want to help black people. I just don't agree with that. They always hide their ideology behind an ethnic group or a group of, and then they pass laws to say you can't say that. It's all a lie. So at this rate, Trump is doing his best, but he's going to need Republicans, libertarians, progressive socialists to wake up and fight against political correctness. Right now, we need free speech back. We need the ability to question science, not real science, but the phony bureaucrats who work for Big Pharma. We need an ability to be able to experiment and do what science really is. We shouldn't be called racist, sexist, xenophobe, anti-Semite, conspiracy theorist, Islamophobe anytime you have a legitimate conversation about the differences in ideologies between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. You shouldn't be called a sexist for talking about women and the differences between men. You shouldn't be called an anti-Semite for talking about Zuckerberg or Soros or Rothschild. but these are the games that they play. So a lot of Republicans are not really helping in the speech category. They just move the Overton window left and play defense all the time. That's why I'm changing it around. We have to go on the offense, or at bare minimum, not just play these games like, oh, we get called a racist all the time, and then they call people racist all the time. You know, all these Republicans, they call Joe Biden racist, Hillary Clinton racist, they call everyone an anti-Semite. You can't use these words constantly and say you're fighting for free speech. We need to go back to days when we could have discussions about things and not just, it's over, I win, you're a racist, I'm a better person, I have the moral high ground, you're horrible people, you hate all these people. It's not true. Very few people hate entire groups of people. The people that hate the most are the ones with the major platforms. The corporations that discriminate the most are the ones that use these as shields. So we have to go the other way. I want to show you another book I just bought. I haven't read it yet. It's called How to Lie with Statistics by Daryl Huff. This book was on Bill Gates' reading list. Bill Gates wants you to read How to Lie with Statistics. I did a whole video of it. I'll share it later. So what does he know? I'll read the back of it for you because this is on Bill Gates' reading list. It says, from distorted graphs and biased samples to misleading averages, there are countless statistical dodges that lend cover to anybody with an axe to grind or a product to sell. With abundant examples and illustrations, Daryl Huff, lively and engaging primer, clarifies the basic principles of statistics and explains how they're used to present information in honest and not so honest ways. So he's basically telling you it's easy to lie with statistics. So he wrote the book, How to Lie with Statistics. Statistics are only as good as the people putting in the numbers, and they're lying. So this whole shutdown was based off statistics that are based off math that nobody's doing. Why am I telling you? I did the math in March. I did the math in April. I did the math in May. I did the math in June. I did the math in July. I did the math in August. And I'm doing the math in September. And I showed people how they're counting cases, how they're counting deaths, how they're classifying it. This matters. These are the statistics. Where did the statistics come from? Those numbers I just told you. Who's not telling you? Nobody in the Republican Party is telling you. None of these useful idiot conservatives who tell you they're fighting for free speech and then sell out our First Amendment. Trump administration's not telling you. Has Kaylee, the blonde chick who does a good job, has she explained it? None of them are explaining. So how are you going to be free? Do you get what I'm saying? You're never going to be free until you understand how they're operating, so no one gets to the core of it. Is Trump going to save us from communism? At this rate, no, because everybody just assumes he's got it, but nobody around him is doing anything that gets to the core of things. He's doing the most out of anybody in modern history, but he needs some help. He needs people to not just be a yes man, do the work that someone else isn't doing. Be the American. When you're in the military, you don't just sit on the sidelines and be like, oh, they're going to do it for me. Everybody contributes. So this idea of sitting on the sidelines and thinking Trump is going to save us from communism, he's really not, because most Republicans aren't getting to the core of the COVID crisis. They're not getting to the core of the First Amendment. It's been not just liberals on the tech end that are selling out and book burning our First Amendment. It's Republicans. I can't name 10 Republicans who fight against or for the First Amendment. They tell you they do. They go to your school and tell you they do. They make social media videos and get millions of views telling you how much they love the First Amendment, but then they pass legislation or support legislation that sells it out under the guise of anti-Semitism. And then they call anyone an anti-Semite who believes in the Constitution. God bless Israel and God bless Jews, but I believe in the First Amendment. I like Christians, but I don't call you an anti-Christian if you criticize the Pope. I don't say you're not allowed to talk about Christian power or Catholic power. It exists, especially in the Vatican. It exists quite strongly. So why would I stop you from talking about Catholic power? But you're not allowed to talk about Jewish power because right-wingers pass speech legislation against it. And in some countries, it'll get you arrested, just like talking about Islam will. So you get what I'm saying? The Republicans are not getting to the core of anything, and they go 80% of the way and then stop anybody for going the full distance. And it's not going to work. I could lie and say it's going to work, but it's not. We need people to go the distance. It's the same as, for instance, in America, if you want to really get to what's going on, you can't play the victim. I can't sit here and say, oh, Americans are the victim. We made no mistakes in history. It's everyone else's fault. Anybody who disagrees with me is an anti-Christian. That's not true. Christians have made dozens of mistakes over the last 100 years. White people have made mistakes, Hispanics have made mistakes, America's made mistakes, Republicans have made mistakes, and Democrats have made mistakes. Catholics have made many mistakes. I would be a liar if I shut down any discussion trying to give me accountability, because Christians need accountability. And it's not Israel's fault, it's not Saudi Arabia's fault, it's not China's fault, it's not Nancy Pelosi's fault, it's not Mexico's fault, it's Americans' fault for allowing this to happen for hundreds of years, and foreign nations and people with other interests to take advantage of the country. I don't blame everyone else, I blame us. So it's the same with other groups. If they say you can't say anything that they're doing, it's a racist smear tactic, then they're liars. What they're saying is, we're doing it, we don't want you to talk about it, and we want no accountability, which is what you see in this country. They're blaming one race for everything, every other race gets a pass. Meanwhile, this country is systemically rigged against the race that they're blaming. I'm mixed. I'm part Hispanic and I'm part white. Do you know where the privilege lies? I do, because anytime I apply to a school, anytime I apply to a job, if I want a handout or I want a better chance of getting a scholarship or a job, I check Hispanic, because there's no systemic privilege in being white. The system is rigged against white on every level of academia, entertainment, music. Everything is rigged for Black and Hispanic people. Everything is rigged for Native Americans in some cases. Everything is rigged against white people and Asians. That's just how it happens. I know, because I'm part mixed, and I knew even growing up. My mom told me, check Hispanic. Check the Hispanic box, because that's going to help you. If you want to get something, check that. So that's where the privilege is. So they're lying to everybody and saying the whole system is rigged for certain groups of people, as the entire media hates on the group of people that they're rigging everything against. This is not right. And then they call you a racist if you tell the truth. This whole game is rigged. So, Trump's doing what he can do. He's doing a lot, but we need people to take it the full distance, because a lot of these people just do a little bit, and then my beef with them is not that they don't do everything, but the people that stop other people from doing it. You have right-wing gatekeepers that call everybody racist anti-Semites when they stand up for the Constitution of America. That's where the problem lies. It's not that they don't do what I do. Everyone's different. The problem is that they've become the censors. They've become the book burners. They've become they censored me, well, why don't we censor them? Or we'll censor her because they censored us. No, stop. We need to go the other way. Stop using these terms, racist, sexist, xenophobic, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic. There are ways to shut down the discussion. When someone calls me an anti-Semite falsely, or an Islamophobe falsely, or a racist falsely, what they're saying is, I'm a great person, you're a horrible person, you hate this entire group of people even though it's not true, and I win the discussion because I'm a better person morally. It's not true. I don't hate any group of people. I have supporters of all types. Real people understand the truth, and this is what's going to set us free. So using those words doesn't win the argument. It's the word of the censor. These words were created to stop any sort of discussion. When it comes to sex, there's no such thing as sexist. If you hate all women or hate all men, you're a sexist, I guess. But who hates all men? There's more left-wingers that hate all men than there are right-wingers who hate all women. Right-wingers love women, but we have differences in intellectual ideas of where women thrive, or what women's role is, or what a woman is. I mean, now it's a debate to even define a woman, and that's not really okay, I guess, to not understand what a woman is, but whatever. We're allowed to discuss these things, but it's not okay to be like, I win, you can't even, there's differences in what women even are now. So the word sexist just ends the conversation. And same with in ethnic groups, there's differences in culture, there's differences in facial features, there's differences in skin tone, there's differences in vitamin D deficiency depending on where you live. There might even be differences in diets and what works better between genders or certain ethnicities. I'm not sure, so why would I just call things racist? It's like, I'd rather people explore what's best for people. And same with anti-Semite or Islamophobe. Islam is not the same religion as Christianity. Christianity is not the same religion as Judaism. They're all different, and an Islamic state or an Islamic nation is a lot different than a Christian nation because they believe in a different scripture. So it's not Islamophobic to suggest there's differences. It's a fact. It's not anti-Semitic to suggest Jewish people do phenomenally in banking and media. It's a fact. So why are these words and legislations being passed on both sides? It's not to help Jewish people. It's not to help Muslims. It's not to help Christians. It's not to help women. It's to censor speech. These are all words created to shut a discussion down, and everyone does it. Right-wingers claim that they don't do it, but they do it just as much. They call everybody racist and everybody an anti-Semite. They're so loose with the words don't mean anything anymore. If you hate every single person from that race, then I would say, yeah, you're a racist. But that's very uncommon. In fact, it's most common in people who use the word racist the most. It's most uncommon when right-wingers call someone that, they just use it as a word to be like, you're a bad person. It's a way to not explain why it's good or bad. Is it real? Is it fake? Is it true? Is it evil? Is it right? Is it wrong? This is how we should define things. Is it moral? Is it not moral? When you call something a word, but what you're calling is true, you're a racist. That's racist, but it's not wrong. Then you become a liar. You become a censor. So these words have been so skewed, so anybody who speaks the truth will be smeared as this. And if you read books from the 1900s, this has been true for they've been doing this for over 100 years. And I have a dictionary next to me from 1828. Lots of these words didn't exist in the 1800s. Good and evil existed, right and wrong existed, and true and false existed. The word anti-Semitic didn't exist. The word xenophobic didn't exist. The word racist didn't even exist because they just said right and wrong. And then they've used and expanded these words to push their agenda forward and have no one rail against them. It's such a joke. I'll answer a few questions and then I'll move on, but I just want to let y'all know this God Bless hat is made in the USA. You see the logo. If you want to get one, it's on dreamrare.com. It's my website. It's pinned to the top, or it's somewhere in the comment sections or somewhere in the video. They're selling like hotcakes. Everybody wants one. The shirts, same with that. Anomaly shirts and hats on dreamrare.com. Did I send you a friend request yesterday? No. Because this page is so successful, there's fake accounts every day. I can't keep up, guys. Every day they make fake Anomaly accounts and try to scam and give friend requests. Don't accept them, and if everybody mass reports them, they'll go away. So any page called Anomaly that messages you that isn't this, or my Instagram has a blue check mark, my Facebook has a blue check mark, that's the only one that's me. My Twitter is Legendary Energy. Any other accounts, my Parler is Dream Rare. Any other accounts are not me, I promise you. Yeah, it's not me. Someone said the left calls everyone racist, not the right. What is he talking about? Well, Bill, that's not true. The left wing calls everybody racist and sexist and xenophobic, but you know how many right-wingers, they say, Joe Biden's racist, Obama's racist, Hillary's racist, Louis Farrakhan's an anti-Semite, Ilhan Omar's an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes is racist, he's an anti-Semite. It's not just the left wing. The left wing does it more than the right wing, but most prominent conservative thought leaders use the word racist and anti-Semitic way too much. That's just my opinion. Even if you're debating Farrakhan or you're debating Ilhan Omar, can you intellectually beat their argument without using those words? It shouldn't be too hard. Why is Ilhan Omar wrong? You shouldn't have to use a word that shuts the discussion down and tries to censor her. That's what right-wingers did. While they fooled you with Ilhan Omar, they passed anti-Semitism speech laws to make it illegal to talk about banking and media. Guys, it's right-wingers selling out the First Amendment too, and they're the ones overusing the word racist and anti-Semite as well. Not as much as the left wing. The left wing is 20 times worse, but this is the problem. They're doing it, so we can do it not as much. Everyone needs to stop doing it. This is why we lose our freedom. If you don't have the First Amendment, you're not going to have any amendments. Right now in this country, you're losing everything. It's because the right wing doesn't stand up for anything. They don't even stand up for the First Amendment. If you don't have the First Amendment, you're going to lose all of them. If you don't have the Second Amendment, you're going to lose all of them. And right now, we're in the process of losing most of them because right-wingers are doing it slightly less than the left wing. In order to get free speech back, guys, we have to reject political correctness. Everything's not racist. Everything's not. If Joe Biden passed a crime bill in 1994, is Joe Biden a racist? No, he's not a racist. He's just a liar. He's a hypocrite. He's somebody that was locking a bunch of people up. You could say he locked up too many people. You could say it was a good idea and you want law and order because Republicans want law and order until Joe Biden does it, then Joe Biden's a racist. Hillary Clinton says super predator, so she's a racist, but if Trump said it, you wouldn't care. So this is what I'm saying. Joe Biden's not a racist. He's a liar and he's a hypocrite. Does he hate black people? No, Joe Biden's not a racist. He's just an opportunist. He'll do anything for power. If it's like black people, hate black people, pass a crime bill, pass an anti-crime bill, Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, I don't think he really cares. I think he cares depending on the public consensus of what he thinks will get him in office. Do I think Joe Biden's a racist? I don't. How many right-wingers, including Trump, have called him a racist? Everybody. These are words of the censor. That means you lose. But to be honest, his crime bill, if Trump would have done it, people probably would have liked it because they want law and order. So I'm just being honest. He's a hypocrite and he's a liar and he's an opportunist, and you could say he's all of these things. But to call everybody racist when they do one thing to try to gain brownie points among the black community is very disingenuous. And it's not just disingenuous, it's anti-free speech. Because you have to understand, why are they taking away people's free speech and how are they taking away people's free speech? And if you play the games of the censors and use the games of the censors, you become the censor. You become the book burner. You know, how many right-wingers told you, regardless of what you think about Louis Farrakhan, I'm going to say Noam Chomsky, who happens to be Jewish, good man for the most part, a little sneaky, a little bit disingenuous with his politics, but he always believed in free speech. Noam Chomsky said, if you don't agree with free speech for people you disagree with, you don't believe in free speech. So if you don't believe in free speech for Louis Farrakhan or Alex Jones, you don't believe in free speech. Noam Chomsky knows it. I know it. Any honest person knows it. So all these right-wingers said, Louis Farrakhan has a Twitter account. Louis Farrakhan has a Facebook. Louis Farrakhan's books are getting burned and banned on Amazon. Louis Farrakhan got deleted on Facebook. And not a single right-winger stood up for him. They, in fact, all turned against him and all tried to get him banned. So they're not standing up for your free speech. They're all hypocrites. They use the word racist and anti-Semite and blacklist people who question them. Charlie Kirk in Turning Point was blacklisting and shutting down question and answers because a bunch of right-wingers were asking him questions about Israel and race, and he couldn't handle it, and he wasn't honest enough to agree with it, so he shut them down. These are the most prominent free speech fighters. They're not fighting for free speech. You have to agree with speech you disagree with the most. When Ilhan Omar said AIPAC controlled Congress, which they do, they passed an anti-Semitism Congress bill. Ted Cruz and all these Republicans were like, we need to make sure there's no anti-Semitism here. What she said is right. American Israeli Political Action Committee, AIPAC, has major influence on both parties. That's not an anti-Semitic theory. That's a fact. They brag about it on their YouTube. So now, even though I don't like Ilhan Omar, I'm going to pass an anti-free speech order to stop her from saying something. This is anti-American. So they use your emotions and people you hate to take away your rights. And they do the same thing on the left wing. The left wing hates Brett Kavanaugh. So what did they try to do to Brett Kavanaugh? Take away his amendment that says the right to a fair and speedy trial. Everybody has the right to a fair and speedy trial. O.J. Simpson, Bill Cosby, Brett Kavanaugh. If you believe I hate him so much that he doesn't have the right to a fair and speedy trial, you're taking a dump on the Constitution. That's what the left wing does. They manipulate them with people they hate to get rid of the Constitution. And they do the same thing with the right wing. The difference is you guys are more easy manipulated by Islam and Ilhan Omar and AOC than you are by that. So they use that to fool you. And they have fooled you, and they did fool you last year. And I was one of the only ones who told you. Regardless of how you feel about Farrakhan or Ilhan Omar, once you think they should be deplatformed or called a word in order to shut down what they said, everything, I've challenged so many right-wingers, they can't even fully explain why what they said is hate speech, because it's not hate speech, because hate speech doesn't exist. If you say, I hate every single person of this ethnicity, that's hateful. But Farrakhan has never done that. And he's done some questionable things that I disagree with, but all these right-wingers that smear him and call him an anti-Semite, they're not smart enough to debate exactly what he said. Because sometimes he's quoting Revelations in the Bible. So now they think the Bible's anti-Semitic. In Revelations, there's 2 passages that talks about the blank of Satan. And that's a Bible scripture. It's not saying everybody. Jesus himself was Jewish. But he said, there are those who say they are but are not. I will make them of the synagogue of Satan. I will make them bow down to you and know that I have not just loved them, but I've loved you too. So this is a Bible scripture, and Farrakhan says it, and right-wingers call him anti-Semitic. It's not to say all people, but all Christians aren't good, all Christians aren't evil. All Jews aren't good, all Jews aren't evil. All Muslims aren't good, all Muslims aren't evil. But if you suggest that any sort of person of a certain ethnicity deserves any sort of accountability, all of the right-wingers turn against you, and they all try to shut it down. Someone said Ilhan is a racist, though. That word is a word to censor people. You could say Ilhan Omar doesn't like America. Ilhan Omar doesn't have your best interests at heart. You can say Ilhan Omar doesn't have Israel's best interests at heart. Ilhan Omar doesn't have, white people's best interests at heart. Just say that. Just say what she's doing is wrong and explain how it's wrong. To use the word racist is just an overrated word. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Oh, she's racist. When she said, AIPAC, it's all about the Benjamins, every right-winger I follow called her an anti-Semite. They called her anti-Semitic for saying it's all about the Benjamins. It's all about the Benjamins. All of politics runs off of money, guys. That's how it works. So because you don't like Ilhan Omar, she's not allowed to say that? I can't stand Ilhan Omar. To me, she's one of the fakest, most dishonest, most ungrateful politicians in Washington. I can't stand Ilhan Omar. I don't agree with her policy. I don't agree with her attitude. I don't agree with Ilhan Omar at all. But when she said it's all about the Benjamins, she was right. When she talked about AIPAC, she was right. And they shut her down because that's what they do. People are so emotional, they just use the word racist and anti-Semite and shut out free speech. It's all designed to take away your free speech, guys. And they trick right-wingers because right-wingers love Israel and so much that they don't even use their brain. I don't know what to tell you. It's like you can love people but love the Constitution at the same time. There's a way to win an argument without using these words. I think Farrakhan is very sneaky. I think he's very sneaky. I don't agree with his religion. I don't agree with his politics. But he's the most hated by the right and the most censored because he has the gall to talk about something that Don Lemon or right-wing black conservatives will never talk about. He goes a lot deeper on a lot of subjects, and he says some stuff that I find completely false and honestly negative towards my ethnicity. But I don't know. To me, he's much better than Don Lemon. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't like Don Lemon. I don't like him. But like, if you listen to his speech, and you listen to Don Lemon's speech, it's just like all lies and all like cover-ups. At least he has the gall to say how he feels. I respect people that I disagree with that say exactly how they feel than this political correct world. Farrakhan's not politically correct. I respect him more than that than I respect most left-wingers for playing this game like Trevor Noah. He says what he doesn't believe. They know they don't believe it, but they say it because they think it sounds good and they don't want to seem bad or mean. I respect the crazy pastor, Louis Farrakhan, or the extreme rabbi who tells the truth more than I respect the liar. I'd rather hear an extreme rabbi that I disagree with, Louis Farrakhan, or someone like Pastor Anderson, an extreme Christian who I don't agree with. I respect them more than the liar, the person who minces their words and who knows they're lying but bows down to political correctness. To me, the world would be a better place if more people just said how they felt. The fact that everybody has to play this political correct game and everybody gets called a racist and an anti-Semite, to me, that's a way to just make the lie seem virtuous and make the truth seem bad. And anything in between needs to be destroyed. I don't agree with it. I just can't lie and say I do. Let me read this. Do I believe most blue areas are the poorest areas compared to other red areas? Well, I mean, there's some poor red areas, but I will say California is one of the biggest economies in the world. California has like top 10 economy in the world out of any country. And it's got the most poverty in the United States. And it's one of the top homeless places in the United States. So what are they doing wrong? I do believe that Democrat policies lead to poverty and lead to just complete destruction of businesses. But however, I think the argument that a lot of people don't want to have in this country on either side is certain groups of people you can't baby forever. At a certain point, you have to get a mindset to get you out of poverty. So in certain areas, they've been declining for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, left wing, right wing, left wing, right wing. They've been on the decline. And, people come from Asia and do better than them. People come from Africa and do better than them. People come from all over the world, Iran, Palestine, and do better than people in America. So at a certain point, we can't baby certain groups of people. They have to just get their stuff together. I know I watched David Banner. David Banner is a very famous, rap icon in the rap world. He made a video earlier today and said, we can't wait for a Jesus-type human figure. He wasn't talking about religion. He was like, we can't wait for like Jesus to be a politician and save black people in America. He's like, we have to save ourselves. We can't stop playing this game of like, I want them to do this. I want Democrats to do that. He's like, we have to do it. We get duped every year because like, oh, Joe Biden's not going to save the black community. Trump's not going to save the black community. Trump's trying his hardest. He did opportunity zones. But you can give people all the opportunities in the world. It's got to come from black culture. It's got to come from black America. It's got to come from black neighborhoods deciding this is the path we're going to do. You could give them $1 trillion, rig society so they get into every school and every job, give them all these businesses, or give them what the left wing wants to give them, which is Obama phones and welfare. And it's not going to change until the mindset changes. That's just how the world works. You could give me $1 billion, I could waste it on drugs tomorrow. You have to change your mindset. And that's what David Banner was saying to people is, we have to be the change. We can't wait for Trump and we can't wait for Biden, which is the truth. And we demand this, we demand that. You should demand the government just leave you alone, because the more they get involved with their community, the more they take. And this has been true for 100 years. So overall, I think you could say Democrats are causing more poverty. I think it's factual. You could say Republicans don't bail people out of poverty. I would say that could be true too. But at the end of the day, you got to get yourself out of poverty. You have to get, like most of California homelessness is avoidable. This is not like an economy that's dying and there's no jobs available. It's not run properly, but at the same time, most homeless people are on drugs or have mental issues. Most of them, not some of them, most of them. So you talk to people on the streets, they don't want money. They have money. They don't want food. They have food. 90% of people I passed when I lived in Los Angeles, they weren't like they used to be in New York. When I grew up and went to New York City, there were signs that said, hey, can I have food? Can I have money? Can I have food? They wanted food and money. 90% of homeless people in Los Angeles don't even have a sign for food and money because they don't want or need food or money. They're not there because they need to be there. They're there because of mental health and drug issues, and it's growing and perpetuating. So this is not going to be bailed out by money. You could bring opportunity zones to Los Angeles. It doesn't matter. It's a mindset. It's a culture. It's a standard. If you go to a red area of California, you'll start to notice they have homeless people, but the homeless people have their stuff together. Because if they don't have their stuff together, they get kicked out. So the standard raises and the homeless standard raises. They don't trash the area, because if they trash the area in a red part of California, they get kicked out and sent to a blue part. So the homeless people get their act together. In California, in Los Angeles, they don't have their act together because they don't have to. They're sanctioned and subsidized for being degenerates. So you have to have a standard of society, which we just don't in blue areas. But Republicans can't say it. You got to save yourself. I lived in a blue state for 8 years. I still do, to be honest. And they tax me. They take my money. They steal. But I'm still doing fine because I don't use that excuse. Yeah, they're going to take more money from me than a red state, but whatever. I'm not gonna cry and say California made me poor. No, I'm going to bust my ass like I did my whole life and make money and make a career for myself. I went to California and Los Angeles with less than $1,000 in the bank account and 2 bags. I had no money, no car, no personal property, nothing. Less than $1,000 and 2 bags. I didn't say, well, it's a blue state, so I'm going to be poor because they made me poor. No, make money. If they take 60%, make more. If they take 70%, make more. Don't be a greedy, selfish person who hurts people, but don't make excuses. It's like, the gym's closed and I'm annoyed, but then I got to work out. I got weights right here. I don't want to work out here. It's harder, but I'm not going to gain 1,000 pounds because they close the gyms. I'm going to just have to, work even harder, get over the hurdles. So I said, can you explain the 1619 project and what Trump's doing? I don't know what the 1619 project is. I think it's like a New York Times thing, but I know he's ending critical race theory, which is in government positions or something. Critical race theory is just, to be quite honest, it's just anti-white, anti-America propaganda. If you're any sort of honest person, I'm part Hispanic, I'm part white. In general, if you go to Mexico, there's racism. If you go to South America, there's racism. Argentinians don't like Mexicans. Mexicans don't like Argentinians. Not all of them. I'm just saying it exists. Puerto Ricans feel a certain way about Mexicans. There's interracial racism racism, people who like themselves more than other people or hate on other people because of their race, whatever, it's in every single Hispanic country. It's in every single Asian country. They're so racist, they don't even accept refugees because they don't want Africans and they don't want Middle Eastern people. In China, they're putting them in camps. They don't want anybody besides themselves. We're the most multiracial place in the world. We're the least racist place in the entire world. Europe has racism. Africa has racism. There's black and white racism. In Africa, it's the opposite. You have the racism of the other way, where like light skin and dark skin, they treat them differently. And then you have the mixed people who get treated differently. In Africa, you have, in Australia, there's racism all over the world. So what is critical race theory? It's acting like white people are the only racist people and they need to be, negatively talked about all the time. They don't talk about Hispanic racism. They don't talk about Asian racism. They don't talk about Chinese racism. They don't talk about any racism. They only blame white people for everything, as the entire system is factually rigged against you. You're getting less opportunities in jobs and schools, not because of the content of your character, not because of your SAT score, because of your skin color. As they're discriminating against you, they want to beat down on you with their BS theories that only talk about one type of racism and ignore 99% of racism. The same thing they do with Black Lives Matter. They don't care about most black lives. Over 90% of black people being murdered are killed by other black people in black neighborhoods. They don't care about that. They don't care when a black officer kills a person. They don't care. When it's a Hispanic officer, they lie and say he's a white Hispanic. The Hispanic who shot somebody in LA wasn't even a white Hispanic. There are white Hispanics. There's many of them. This guy was pretty dark. He's not even considered demographically a white Hispanic. So they lie. They only care when a police officer of white ethnicity kills a black person. What does that tell you about these people? They don't care about black people. They don't care about black lives. They care about framing or hating white people. That's all they care about. So if you really cared about racism, why don't you care about China and the fact that they have African Muslims in concentration camps of some sort? Why don't you care about Libya, where they enslaved black people? Why don't you care about South America and Mexico, where people are not treated like they are here? Why don't you care about, the Middle East, where people treat people worse than here? They don't care about any of this stuff. Oh, we're pro-LGBT. And you're pro-Muslim? God bless my Muslim brothers and sisters, but if you're gay, you have more freedom in America than you have in Iran and Saudi Arabia. So why in the world are you against Christians and white people when in their countries they treat you the best? In countries that are majority Christian and majority white, gays are treated better than in Muslim countries. What are you talking about? Israel and America are the best places to be gay. They let you do anything. They give you television shows when just because of your sexuality, everything's rigged towards you. SpongeBob is gay. Go to Saudi Arabia. They're not treating you this way. They don't openly celebrate you the way they do in America. So why would you hate America? It makes no sense. These people are self-sabotagers and they just hate America and they just hate white people. And I'm not just saying that. How much more obvious could it get? Everybody knows it. It's like, you think there's not racism in Asia? Why do they boycott refugees? When they bring over 100 refugees to South Korea, they get out and say, send them back. 99% of Japan is Japanese. Most of China is Chinese. And the people who aren't are being rounded up and forced into, places to live. I mean, do you care? They don't care about black lives. They don't care about racism. They care about critical race theory, which is just anti-white, nonsensical, liberal, communist, turn against the place that treats you good and, just hate people based on their skin color. I'm glad Trump's ending that. It makes no sense. Melissa said LGBTQ people get thrown acid at them in Jamaica and are shunned. Yeah, I mean, every country in the world isn't perfect. America is the best place to be gay, and America is the best place to be any race, pretty much. I mean, it's a good place where you don't, before liberals ruined it, no one cares. Just do your work and just don't be a liar, and you'll be 100% fine. Someone said, sorry to see your numbers are so low. I mean, 2,600 is not that low, but I had 4,000 people earlier. It's fine. My video from yesterday already has 1 million views. It's okay. Talk about the fake polls. The polls don't matter, but even the polls are starting to look better for Trump. So, SpongeBob is gay. They said he's gay. Yeah, they're telling kids on Nickelodeon that he's gay. I mean, to be honest, he always seemed kind of gay. You know what I'm saying? He he was a little bit gay, but no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I guess they said he was gay or something. Hashtag, everybody's, I don't know, look it up. Here, I'll Google it, hold on. SpongeBob is gay. Yeah, Nickelodeon tweeted that he's gay or something. They're like giving, I don't know. You could look it up on your own. Apparently that's the most interesting thing I said all day. Donnie, I appreciate you. All right, I got like 5 more minutes and I'm gonna take off. Someone said I went to Argentina and I lived there for 3 years, so I know what you mean. Yeah, I love Argentina, but like Argentinians are very prideful people. A lot of people are prideful of their heritage. Italians, Argentinians, you know, black people are super prideful of their heritage. So it's like they stop everybody else from doing what they do. I'm not prideful of my heritage because, I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, Italian, Polish. I like it, but I've never really cared that much. To be honest, personally, I've been like, whatever. I'm not defined by my ethnicity. So I was never a prideful person with my ethnicity. However, I don't care that other people are. Why would I care if black people are proud to be black, or white people are proud to be white, or Jews are proud to be Jewish, or, you know, or, I don't know, Argentinians are proud to be Argentinian, Hispanics. It doesn't bother me. Like, why? We're always just micromanaging everything. Like, you can't do this. It's like, Argentinians love Argentina, and they look at other Hispanics as, like, lesser, you know? There's racism in the Hispanic world. The white Hispanics look on others as if they're better, and vice versa sometimes. So I'm not saying I think you should treat people by content of character. However, if you want to be proud of your DNA, I don't care. I just don't. I don't care if Nick Cannon does it. I don't care if a white guy does it. I don't care if a Jewish person does it. The hypocrisy comes when the people who do it the most tell everybody not to do it. The liberals and other ethnic groups say, you can't do this, you're a supremacist, but they do exactly that. They look for people of their genetics to make love to. But I don't mind. Why would I mind? If a black person only wants to marry a black woman, why would I care? If an Asian only wants to marry an Asian, why would I care? Why is that my business? I'm supposed to force them, be like, no, you need to marry a white woman now. It's like, if everyone thought this way, the world would be fine. We'd leave each other alone. Everyone could do whatever they wanted. If you wanted to segregate, go do it. If you don't want to, don't do it. It's like, it would be so easy. We have to micromanage everything. You go here, you go here. It's like, leave everyone alone. It's not going to work that way. America's not going to work out because at a certain point, people don't want to do what liberals and government wants them to do. Let people do their own thing. I have no problem with it. I don't see the big deal. They're like, no, you have to do this. Like, no, they don't. They could go somewhere else and not do that. I don't know. Someone said I'm in Reading. Our air is basically unbreathable. The sky is apocalyptic brown. This is insane. Yeah. I'm Iraqi, 3% minority group in America. I don't ask for the world. I hear you, Joe. God bless Iraqis. I've met great Iraqis, great Iranian people. A lot of people who immigrated here, or their parents immigrated here, and they still have gratefulness. They appreciate it is for what it is. It's like you have the ability to make something for yourself, and for the most part, no one really cares. America is so ethnically diverse right now, you don't stand out. Even if you're Iraqi, I saw your picture, you know, it's like people don't even know what I am. Armenians think I'm Armenian, Middle Easterns think I'm Middle Eastern, Hispanics know I'm part Hispanic, white people think I'm white enough to be white or something. It's like, I look like everything, but no one bothers most people. They're not like, hey, you look like you might be this. It's like, I don't think that really happens that often. There's more cases of people lying about it and framing events than there are of like actual cases. They just canceled Halloween in LA County. I'm sure they did. They'll cancel 2021. They need to clean this air. They need to clean this air. This is insane. Let me see. I'm going to look up the air and like, let me see. Air. Let's see. How we doing? I'm just gonna. Someone said, love your point of view. It's common sense. You do you, I'll do me. Easiest way to live. Even if you listen to people like Malcolm X and even Farrakhan. I know people don't like Farrakhan, but they were in a way, they were pro-segregation, both of them. And I'm not justifying. I'm just saying, like, if they wanted to do that, I don't care. Just as long as they don't force everyone else to do what they're doing. Like, I don't see it as a threat to be like, if you want to do that, like so many people, they're getting mad at any white police officer who does anything. If you want it to be a black police officer, I don't care. If you want to segregate, I don't care. But you can't force me to do it. Just leave me alone. If I want to live in a community that's not that way, that's fine. And if you want to try that there, as long as, you know, you're not angry and like evil to people, I don't know. Like, am I supposed to want to go to Japan and make them 50% white? Oh, well, Japan needs 50% Africans, or they need to be 50-50. Like, it's not my business. I don't know. I stay to myself. I don't try to micromanage everyone else's life. Like, I don't know. I guess that's controversial now, but upload your live streams. I'm gonna upload this live stream to YouTube. Too many fires right now. It's insane. Someone said even black officers are retiring. No, absolutely. In Rochester, a black police chief. What people don't realize is America is not a racist place. Most of America is so ethnically diverse, they don't even know who they're fighting. Most of these areas have black police chiefs. The amount of there's probably more black police chiefs per capita. Like, if you compare it to the demographics of black America, there's probably more black police chiefs per percentage. It's like there's a lot of black police chiefs. If you're a black police chief, you're probably not a degenerate. You're probably somebody who understands law and order. You have to be. It's your job. You're probably somebody, most likely, want what's best for your community. You want to help people. So why in the world would a black police chief want to put up with these losers, these degenerate terrorists? Why? Like, these don't help anybody. Any decent black person doesn't want their business to be burned, doesn't want to be attacked, doesn't want less police officers in their neighborhood. It's not a popular belief. It's like, for sure, any black person that owns a business or works in the police force, which is probably millions of them, who likes this stuff? This is insane the way people are acting. It's driving a lot of people to vote for Trump, no question. Can I upload yesterday's live stream? Possibly. I saved it. I just didn't upload it. Will I check it out? Maybe. Did I see where Hollywood movies must have minorities to be considered for an Academy Award? Yeah, this is the hypocrisy. If they want to do that, I don't care. Honestly, I don't care because I don't make movies. But the hypocrisy is the people who do this, they're discriminating based on not the quality of the movie, they're discriminating based on ethnicity. They're the loudest people trying to tell everybody else not to do it. Like, do you know how not racist I am? You guys, I don't even call them racist. I just call them morons. But it's like, compare what you're doing to what I'm doing. It's night and day. I don't judge people by their skin color. I judge them by the content of their character. But I will have conversations about stuff. Your whole life is about race. You won't even accept a movie if it doesn't have enough black people in it. It's like you're the exact bigot you're looking for. These people are insane. How do they not understand that they're such hypocrites? It's because they believe in these fake race theories things where they're just like, I can do whatever I want because I'm a special girl or a special boy. They're total psychos. It's like, how do they sleep at night? How do they believe themselves? Do you think they think that they're like fighting racism? It's like, you can't even live your life without seeing race. When I pass somebody on the street, or I watch a movie, or I watch sports, or I do anything, when I do anything in life, my first thought is, are they good? Are they good people? Do they look like they have their stuff together? It's not like, they're black, they need this. They're white, they need this. They're white, I need another black person. Do they quota their black friends? Like, I have, multiple black friends, but I'm not friends with them because they're black. I'm friends with them because I like them. Do liberals have like friend quotas where they're like, oh, I have 5 white friends, I need another black friend, let me friend them? At that point, is it even your friend? Is it your friend if they're only your friend because they're black? Like, do you respect anybody? Do you respect their soul? Do you respect their mind? Do you respect their individuality? Every black person is not the same. So it's like every music, it shouldn't be based on race. It's so embarrassing what they're doing. Like, I need 5 black friends. I only have 4. I need a 5th. Just judge them by the content of their character. If they suck, they suck. If they're cool, they're cool. It's so simple. And if they suck, they're not cool because of their race, they still suck. White people aren't cool if they suck. They suck. And black people aren't cool if they suck too. It's like, well, Trevor Noah, he's a total liar and he's not funny, but he's part black. It's like, no, he's a liar. It doesn't matter. Bill Maher or like, I don't know, Chris Hayes is white. It's like, who cares? Who cares if Rachel Maddow's white? She's a liar. It doesn't faze me. Like, I want to listen to her because she's white. No, I don't want to listen to her. She's a liar. I'd rather listen to Herschel Walker, who's black, because he's not a liar. I don't know. It's so, their mindset is so toxic. It's so bizarre. Did you see the reports on Sturgis? Yeah, my last video is on the Sturgis thing. All right, I'm going to take off in a second. God bless you guys and stay safe. Stay safe if you're on the West Coast. I know the air is not good, so, you know, definitely be careful if you have to go outside. It's all good, but your throat's probably going to get messed up as if you smoked or something because it's not healthy. And it's okay. I mean, it happens, but just be aware of it, especially if you're in Salem where the air is really bad. Be really, really careful because it's like really hazardous. So the health experts are not telling you what they should tell you, which is stay indoors, move restaurants indoors. It's much worse for your health to be outside than it is to be inside at a time like this. And they're forcing you. The government's forcing you outside. All right, I'll answer maybe 2 more questions and I'll take off. I just want to let you guys know too, the God Bless hats are on dreamrare.com. I know it's backwards, but forwards it looks cool. If you want to get one like me, it's dreamrare.com. I also have Anomaly shirts, and I'm working on a new hat and a new shirt for next month. I'll get one next month, but for now it's just these hats. Thank you to everyone getting them. Hope you enjoy them. Dreamrare.com. It's posted. But someone said, did you see the Sturgis report after? Yeah, after they explained what really happened at Sturgis, they did some study and said, oh, we've decided now that 25% of all cases came from there. On what study? How did you study that? There were 300 confirmed cases from there, so they just had to lie and say that a quarter of the cases in the nation. They do this game of like everybody who got it from there. That's not how viruses work. You go to Coachella, everybody doesn't get the virus. You go to an event, everyone doesn't get it. That's not how it works. I'm sorry. It's such a joke. Your last video. I made the video, I quoted USA Today, and as soon as I did it, they put out a new report of a study. It's a study that they're not counting cases, they're assuming. They're doing like contact tracing. So it's like, well, if this many people were there and they went to these states and these states had these cases, I'm going to assume 25% of the cases came from there. It's anti-science. It's not true. They don't have any proof. All they have is these how to lie with statistics. They put in fake data and get fake results. The data's fake. The data I put from USA Today is real. 300 cases, 1 linked death. That's all they have. So they just have to say, well, according to our reports, if this many people went there, then 25% of those people had it. According to what logic? According to what science? They're such liars. They put out an article and said that it's okay when they gather, when you don't gather, because when they gather, they're fighting racism, so it's secretly okay. These are known liars, guys. They're so brainwashed, they can't even do science anymore. Science doesn't say, well, you know, viruses aren't viruses anymore because they're only viruses of that type when it's my protest. Like, these people are such liars. It's bizarre. But if you want to watch this video later, I'm going to upload it to YouTube and BitChute. So if you want to check out my channels on there, sorry, it's going to be on there. So I'm going to leave it up here probably for 24 hours, then I'm going to move it there. Someone said the report says they're assuming. Of course, that 25% of the people didn't get it from Sturgis. They're not assuming, they're lying. Their assumptions are fake. That's like me saying, well, if I meet with 100,000 people, I'm just going to assume that those 100,000 people went back and everybody in that area got COVID from that. They have no proof. They have no evidence. They have no facts. It's all assumptions based on fake data, which is in the book, How to Do It, that Bill Gates wants you to read. It's on his reading list. I haven't opened it yet, but I'm going to. I'm like LeBron James. You know LeBron James has got the Malcolm X book. He sits there like that, but he's never read it. That's like me with this book. I haven't read a single page yet, but it just came in the mail. So How to Lie with Statistics. It's a book that Bill Gates wanted everybody to read, and I'm about to read it, so I'll let you know. Walter said if everyone was honest, things would be fine. Exactly, Walter, exactly. Walter gets it. That's why I fight so hard against political correctness. The right-wing political correctness, left-wing political correctness, they all censor and silence people when it's politically convenient. But if everybody was honest and just raw, it would be fine. And we'd realize, hey, maybe we do feel differently about politics. Hey, maybe I don't want to live in Portland. And everyone would figure it out and be like, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. Vegans don't eat meat. Meat eaters don't eat vegan. Certain people will burn in the sun. Other people could be in the sun for 10 hours and not burn. Equality is a lie in the sense of everybody's exactly the same. That's how the left wing thinks. Oh, I'm going to be friends with black people because they're black. No, be friends with somebody because they're a good person. And if they're black, that's fine. But it's like, I'm only going to watch movies about this. The quality is going to go down. Black people don't need to be treated like this. There's already hundreds of black movie makers. Tyler Perry's crushing it. Oprah's doing phenomenal in the entertainment industry. There's many, Jordan Peele is hilarious. He's a great comedian and he directs movies too. He doesn't need you to bend over backwards to make him win. Just make him win if it's the best movie. It's like he doesn't need your help. Jordan Peele is not like, it's so demeaning. It's like you're lesser, so I need to bend over to help you. It's like, no, Jordan Peele doesn't need your help. He's probably smarter than most people in Hollywood, and he's much funnier. It's like he doesn't need a handout. He'll probably win awards without your help. It's such a joke. These people are so... They're the ones that don't even value people as humans. They think like everybody is like a net product of who they are. And here's the trap before I leave. They tell you how to act. They say, if you're black in America, you have to act this way. And then they tell you to self-identify as something that doesn't make sense. They would never tell their kids to act that way. They would never tell their parents to act that way. They would never tell white people to act that way. But then they tell black people they have to act that way or else they're a bad person. It's like, if you wouldn't tell your kids to act that way, why would you tell black America to act that way? Because liberals are sneaky. Malcolm X said they're the most deceitful people in the Western Hemisphere. Conservatives, a lot of them are liars too. But it's the liberal that always acts like the friend, always takes your community over. You could even go back to the 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, before integration happened. There were black schools. They already had black schools with hundreds of black teachers where black teachers were teaching black kids. And it was the liberal, I read in Color, Communism, and Common Sense, they went to these black neighborhoods and ended the black schools. You can integrate, that's fine, but you shouldn't have to destroy a black school. If they want to have a black school, let them have a black school. There's nothing wrong with that. But the liberal always says, oh, I'm going to help you. And then they unemployed hundreds of black teachers and told them, you're only smart if you go to a white school. What does that tell you if the black school can't compete with the white school? The black schools could have competed with the white school, but they always have to ruin everything. They've done this for 100 years. And I'm not saying it's fine that certain things happen, but it's not fine to go to someone's neighborhood, take control of everything, take control of all the stores and everything, and then just be like, oh, I'm helping you. It's like, just leave us alone. Sometimes it's just leaving alone is the best thing to do. It's like, if you're going to help, really help, but don't micromanage everything and then call everybody names if they don't want to act the way they act. In America, it's fine to be educated. It's fine to be well-researched. It's fine to believe in the First Amendment. It's fine to believe in the Second Amendment. It's fine to vote for Trump. It's fine not to vote for Trump. It's fine to be an individual and use facts and information that you've gathered to make an informed decision. You shouldn't have to vote a certain way if you're a certain ethnicity. Certain things make more sense, but it's never what they say. Isn't that interesting? So God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I appreciate you. If you want a God bless hat, they're at dreamrare.com. Link is in the bio or the description or whatever. If not, it's all good. If you want, watch my Sturgis video from yesterday. It's got 1 million views. They'll probably censor it eventually because they lied about the data after I made the video. And yeah, I got a bunch of videos coming. You know me. I'm always working. And if you want to watch this later, catch it again. I'm going to upload this whole thing onto YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on BitChute, bitchute.com/dreamrare, or just search Anomaly on YouTube. You'll find my channel. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for being so kind. And thank you to everybody getting the hats and the shirts. I'll be back later. And if you're on the West Coast, be very cautious of the air. These health experts, just like they lie about pharmacy pills, just like they lie about health and heart disease and stuff, they're lying about, I don't know, they're forcing people outside when people should be very aware that the air is bad. Don't cry about it. You might have to breathe it for a few days, but understand that it's bad. And I don't know. I don't see any health experts talking about it. But all right, I'll see you guys. Have a good one.